So hi everyone, I hope you're well today. Staying calm, staying positive, mindful, aware, conscientious, considerate. So now let's do the chanting before the meditations and then the Dharma Talk. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Buddham saranam gacchami, Dhammam saranam gacchami, Sangham saranam gacchami, Dutiyampi Buddham saranam gacchami, Dutiyampi Dhammam saranam gacchami, Dutiyampi Sangham saranam gacchami, Tatayampi Buddham saranam gacchami, Tatayampi Dhammam saranam gacchami, Tatayampi Sangham saranam gacchami. Namo Buddhaya, Namo Dharmaya, Namo Sanghaya, Namo Buddhaya, Namo Dharmaya, Namo Sanghaya, Namo Buddhaya, Namo Dharmaya, Namo Sanghaya. I take refuge until I am enlightened in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. Through the positive potential I create by practicing the 6 paramitas, may I soon attain enlightenment in order to benefit all sentient beings. I take refuge until I am enlightened in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. Through the positive potential I create by practicing the 6 paramitas, may I soon attain enlightenment in order to benefit all sentient beings. I take refuge until I am enlightened in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. Through the positive potential I create by practicing the 6 paramitas, may I soon attain enlightenment in order to benefit all sentient beings. May all sentient beings have happiness and its causes. May they be free from suffering and its causes. May they never be parted from their happiness beyond suffering. May they abide in equanimity, free of bias, attachment to the near, and aversion from the far. I shall cause this. Great compassionate Buddha, please inspire me to be able to do so. Reverently, I prostrate with my body, speech, and mind, and present clouds of every types of offerings, actual and mentally transformed. I confess all of my negative actions accumulated since beginningless time, and rejoice in all the virtues of all holy and ordinary beings. Please remain until cyclic existence ends, and turn the wheel of Dharma for all sentient beings. I dedicate the virtues of myself and others to the great enlightenment. However innumerable all sentient beings are, about to save them all. However inexhaustible my delusions are, about to extinguish them all. However immeasurable the Dharma teachings are, about to master them all. However endless the Buddha's way is, about to follow it completely. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Tayata gate gate para sumgate bodhe soha. Tayata gate para sumgate bodhe soha. Tayata gate para sumgate bodhi soha. So now time for a little meditation. Get yourself comfortable to release the tension from inside your body. Not too tight, not too loose, just enough. So release the tension from the tips of your toes all the way up your legs, then up to your shoulders, down to the tips of your fingers, and then to the top of your head. And when you've completed this, scan your body again to see if there's any more tension that you can release. And then gently bring your focus to the tip of your nose initially and follow the feeling of the breath. So place your mind on this as you breathe in all the way into your lungs and then back out your nose again. Also, if you like, you can use an extra technique of counting to 10. One in-breath, one out-breath is 1, and so on. But if you do get distracted while counting the breaths to 10, then go back to 1 at that time. Otherwise, just focus on your breath. Breathing in, breathing out. If thoughts arise or any other mental activity arises, any mental agitation, let it go naturally. Don't cling to it. Don't grasp at it or try to force it away or deny it even, but let it go naturally by replacing the mind back onto the breath. Let go of any worry or anxiety that has to do with thinking of the past or planning for the future. Be in this moment by placing your mind on your breath. And if your mind starts to become fuzzy or dull or sleepy, then wake it up a little bit by refocusing on your breath more brightly. So let's practice like this for a little while in silence. So now we can feel pleased with ourselves and fill ourselves with universal loving kindness and friendliness. You can utilize the feeling or visualization if you like, visualizing your whole being filling with white light or nectar. And now have this universal loving kindness radiate out from your heart to other living beings and throughout space. Initially to your loved ones, your family, your friends, filling them with the loving kindness as well. Happiness, freedom from suffering, peace. And now widen this radiation of the loving kindness to also include strangers. And also those you find difficult, may even regard as enemies. May these three types of people from your own perspective have happiness and the causes of happiness. May they be free from suffering and the causes of suffering. And may they be peaceful. Now slowly, gradually radiate this loving kindness out further and further distance-wise, starting around your immediate area, radiate it to all living beings, to all of nature, the living beings that live on the land, under the land, fly through the air, in the waters. And now radiate throughout your whole state or county to all of the living beings that abide here, whether you know about them or not. And throughout other states and counties, throughout your country. And other countries, those initially that you have an affinity towards. Maybe you've lived there or traveled there or read about it in books or on the internet, or them, I should say. Those countries that you don't know anything about, don't have any feelings towards, you're kind of indifferent towards. And even those ones that you may have some sort of negative feelings towards. Until your loving kindness pervades this whole planet, the countries, the waters, right to the center of the earth, to the top of the atmosphere. Your loving kindness pervades throughout this whole planet and other planets throughout the whole solar system. And other solar systems throughout the galaxy. And other galaxies throughout the universe and beyond, until your loving kindness pervades infinite space, whilst also being present here and now, and we will recite the dedication prayer. Due to this merit, may I soon attain the enlightened state of the Buddha, so that I may be able to liberate all sentient beings from their suffering. May the precious body Chitta, not yet born, arise and grow. May that born have no decline, but increase forevermore. And may the precious view of shunyata, not yet born, rise and grow. May that born have no decline, but increase forevermore. Namo Buddhaya, Namo Dharmaya, Namo Sanghaya. And so we will continue our commentary on the Karaniya Metta Sutta, the Buddha's teaching on universal loving kindness. And as you know, we're up to the last part, the last half of the last verse. Of course, this predominantly has to do with insight or wisdom, but it obviously is based on morality and based on the mental absorption of this universal loving kindness as well, married together. So all intermingling together. As we say, the eightfold path, everything folding into each other. Wisdom is very dependent upon loving kindness and compassion, not separate from them, and vice versa. So the part we're up to now is unattached to speculations, views, and sense desires. With clear vision, such a person will never be reborn in the cycles of suffering. And of course, the cycles of suffering is samsara, or cyclic existence, which is pervaded by suffering, by unsatisfactoriness. For even the happiness we experience goes away. Everything is impermanent, has the nature of being unsatisfactory, as just mentioned, and is insubstantial, you could say. There is no self to be found anywhere. And they are what we call the three marks of existence, of conditioned existence. And of course, the liberation from this samsara we call nibbana in Pali or nirvana in Sanskrit. But you can also use the words liberation, enlightenment, even the third noble truth, nirodha, the cessation of the causes of this samsara, this suffering. Okay, so unattached. I think we know this by concept, and I think sometimes we may experience it in our meditations and even in our everyday life if we've trained ourselves very well. Or we may have to free ourselves from attachment to those things we find pleasing. And of course, the opposite, aversion to those things we find unpleasant. Recognize it when one of these two, you could say these two attachments, when they arise, and then let it go. And then you can have some more experiential feeling or understanding or experience of non-attachment. So we're saying unattached, same meaning really, isn't it? I like to use the word non-attached because it sounds a little bit different to the worldly way of saying unattached. I think maybe it's a better one. I think some of these translations, the words we use into English and some other languages, I think sometimes it's best to use ones or phrases or a word or words that are a little bit different to the way we use these words in a worldly way. But sometimes we can't avoid it. Yeah, okay, so I think that's unattached is how it's translated in the this translation of the sutra. Non-attached maybe is a better way to put it. So unattached to speculations. So we're always speculating, aren't we? It's almost like we're assuming things and guessing. It's like we see the sky and we see clouds in the sky. Or maybe the sky is clear. We see a blue sky. Maybe we see the sun in the sky. Or at nighttime, stars and the moon and so forth. And then we think we see the sky. But actually the sky really is just a representation of infinite space, isn't it? So we're speculating based on our limited understanding of what it is we are perceiving. In this sense, I'm using the example of the sky. It's almost like we look at the ocean. If you can have an image of the ocean in your mind, even if you don't live there right now, for me, it's, if I open the window, it's just over there. But I can't see the whole ocean, can I? I can see a vast amount of water with my eyes that is changing all the time, but I can't see the whole ocean or oceans. But I perceive it as I see it out in front of me. And then if I have attachment to speculating, then I will speculate on what it is or what it isn't. And so speculating is different, you could say, or if we want to use that same word, if we utilize it in a good way to develop insight and understanding and then let it go, then that's different, isn't it? That's using our ability to investigate and analyze, to contemplate the nature of something or the lack of nature of something, and the impermanent nature of something. Then that's different. But we so often are attached to our speculations because we have the self. This is the way I perceive something. And then it may be different to the way others perceive something. So I think we need to let go of speculating, still use the mind, your mind to investigate, to develop understanding, but let go of speculating. I like this. I don't like that. This is how this is. This isn't how this is. Because as well, as soon as you've speculated and attached to it, whatever it is that you're speculating on has changed. It may appear to be the same, but it's not. For instance, if you're having some positive feelings about something, attachment to these positive feelings about something, someone, anything, then we tend to attach to it. As soon as we attach to it, we don't perceive what it is. Like, let's say, for instance, it's something you find pleasing. Then quite often, based on this speculation, based on our limited understanding, then we tend to exaggerate the good qualities in that which we are attached to. And if we are speculating on and something gives rise to aversion, a dislike, then quite often we exaggerate the bad qualities of that object or that person. But as we're doing this, that object or that person has changed. Even if it is a person and they still behave the same, they still have changed. And we also can change our view of them or whatever it is that we are or have been contemplating or are speculating on right now. So let's do our best to let go of this attachment and this aversion to whatever it is we have speculated on. Okay, so assuming, we're quite often assuming something. If it's something we like, we assume it to be good. Even if we go, oh, hang on a minute, it's not so good. And then we're assuming that it's not so good. But changing again. All right, so unattached to speculations, views. By speculating, then we develop these views. For instance, we have the two extreme views called eternalistic view and nihilistic view. We need to let go of attachment to these. So for instance, the eternalistic view of some sort of idea of a superior being that is controlling everything, including you. I think that if people give rise to this and attach to this type of view or these beliefs, then actually they are really not being responsible. So I'm not saying that the people that do have these beliefs have to give them up. It's not my business. But I think they need to take responsibility. If those beliefs help them to be responsible, then it can be a good thing. But this is based on eternalistic view, not based on the middle path, the middle view. Then, of course, you have the nihilistic view. It's the opposite of that, where nothing exists now. Not even cause and effect. Just random, just by chance. End of this lifetime, for instance, that's it, But I would ask the question, where did this lifetime start from? And what about all of the thoughts you've had? What about all of the words you've spoken? What about all of the physical actions you've been involved in? Some good, some bad, many indifferent. What happens to that energy, if you want to use that word? You've already made the causes. As we know, from the Buddha's teachings, also some teachings from other traditions that have some sort of idea of the law of karma, of cause and effect, but also from modern science. We know that with the cause, there's going to be an effect. So how can anybody hold on to this nihilistic view after speculating, of course? So we need to, there's many other views. Obviously, we can have the view of this, maybe you want to eat certain things, you have a view that they're good for you. And base this on understanding, not just on your desires and your attachments. Or I don't like this here, even if it's a good food. I don't like it, but actually it can be really good for you. So let go of your aversion to that. Maybe you need to have that. There's certain things that we should eat that will help us to have a balanced diet and wherever we're living in the world. Of course, with globalization, it's a bit different, where you get foods from all over the world, even if they're not as fresh as they could be if they come out of your garden. But generally, if you look at it from the point of view where you are in the world, try to have a balanced diet that relates to that, that area. And I think that will probably help you. And so even those things you don't like, then sometimes you have to eat them because it's good for your health. So there are other views. There's many things we can say views, but generally you put it into the extreme views, eternalism, nihilism. And then you have this middle path view. Once again, I'll utilize the example of the fields and the fence between the fields. In this field, you have eternalism. Eternalism cannot, if you have that view and you cling to it, how can you contemplate the opposite? It's impossible. And also, if you're in this field, nihilistic field, then how can you contemplate the eternalistic view, the opposite view again, to get to some sort of middle path view? But if you sit on that fence, unattached because you're not in the fields, but you can see the fields very clearly, then you can get some understanding of this way and that way, and then go beyond that. The transcendent middle path, you could say. Okay, so apologize for somebody keeps sending me pictures from Thailand. Actually, Benito is from Sweden originally, but he's, I think, taking part in the end of the rainy season. So the offering of the robes to the monks today. He tends to send me the short videos, very lovely. But I think maybe he doesn't realize I'm in the middle of the class. I don't know how to turn that off in my computer. I'm not going to mess around with it. So bing. Oh, the other thing too, I should mention, I digress slightly here now. Once again, I've been blocked by Facebook of sharing my posts to groups. These groups, of course, have requested me to do this. I do share quite a lot because I've been requested to do so. And I think maybe this time it happened because a monk friend of mine in Bangladesh requested me last night to share to their group, or his master's temples group. And so I did share quite a few. So maybe they don't like me sharing things. Maybe some people complain they don't like the Dharma or something. I don't know. Or maybe don't like me. I don't know. So unfortunately, hopefully in a period of time, I think last time they did it, maybe a month ago. So it wasn't so long ago. Maybe it was like 5 or 6 days. I couldn't do it. So I'm mentioning it to you because I know that some of you view the video and also read the teachings, contemplate the teachings that I do post. I think you do it in groups sometimes. So just know that that's the case and goes directly to my page, okay? And then you can study from there. Go to the source, okay? And, okay, so we continue. Unattached speculations, views, and sense desires. So once again, we are attached to experiencing what we find pleasurable through our senses, and we have an aversion to what we find unpleasant through our senses. So our eye, our ear, our nose, our tongue, our mind. Did I say them all then? Or the body and the mind, that's right. So the tactile sensations as well. So try to give up attachment to this, and then it will give rise to clear vision, which are the next words in the sutra. In this way, we're using the words clear vision to represent understanding, or vijja, knowing, or wisdom, prajna. Okay, so unattached to speculations, views, and sense desires, such a person, with clear vision, such a person will never be reborn in the cycles of suffering. So, conditioned phenomena, impermanent, have the nature of being unsatisfactory, and have no self whatsoever. The ultimate truth of enlightenment is beyond all of this, cannot be expressed in words or even by concepts, thoughts like that. Okay, so, but we do utilize words to point out what it is, what it isn't. It's not suffering, it's not impermanent, but also it's not the opposite. It's not like permanent as we think is permanent. It's beyond all of this. Once again, I'll utilize the sky. You look up into the sky. Let's say, for instance, it's got some clouds. It's got some blue sky too. Some of it's clear. And maybe you can imagine now you're lying on your back and looking up at the sky. It looks actually like a dome. So if you look back, it looks like a dome. You look this way, it looks like a dome. But we know through science, it's not a dome. Even though some religious traditions in their books, they actually had it as a dome. But we won't go into that. So we know it's not like that. Does it have a texture, this sky? No. Is it hard? No. Is it soft? No. If it was soft, somebody answered that it's soft. Actually, if it's soft, you could still grab it, couldn't you? Can you grab the sky? Can you grab the air? No, you can't. Does it have a color? It may look blue right now. It may look white. It may look gray, but it does not have a color. It's free from all of this labeling. It's, you could say, representation of infinite space. If we were able to travel upwards now into the sky and then keep going, there may be some very big physical things in the way. Maybe some really hot things in the way too. But you could keep going. It's infinite space. To use the words just for convenience right now, the mind is like this. But we're limited. We're limited by having biased views, by speculating and being attached to this, by having attachment to what we find pleasant and aversion to things we find unpleasant that we experience through our senses. We block it, it's like we make our mind, we put it in a shoebox and we say, this is me. And then that gives rise to the opposite, which is the self of other. But we should know, even if it's just concept to us right now, we should know that this is not the case. How could we be me, self, when we're changing all the time? So then you can say changing self. Yeah, and then that changed. This is conditioned. But we are looking to go beyond conditioned to unconditioned. Nirvana or Nibbana. Okay, so I think we've got about 3 minutes left. So we have finished the detailed commentary on the Metta Sutra. If you have any questions in relation to this commentary, whether that goes back a couple of months or whether that's today's, for instance, just let me know, and then I will address them next week. Next week, I will do a conclusion. It could be 1 week, could be 2 weeks, I don't know. But just an overview again. We did the overview to begin with, as you know, and then we've gone into detail. And now it's sort of like a summary. It's sort of like a conclusion, concluding the teachings. Just like if we were writing an essay, for instance, or a book. And so hopefully you've got a lot from this. As I mentioned before, we open the door a bit, don't we? Through our practice of morality, we open the door. Then we absorb our mind with this love and kindness, the door opens even more. And then we get to the wisdom part where the door now totally opens. The sky, your concept of the sky totally opens. Or maybe we've totally destroyed it. Your mind is like infinite space, unattached, unaffected by anything. It just appears like it is affected, just like the clouds appear in the sky. But there's no substantiality to those clouds. So I think that that will do for now. Hopefully you've enjoyed this class today. We've still got a bit to go. So then after we've finished the conclusion, like I said, we will do one whole class. After the chanting and after the breath meditation, we will actually do a whole class utilizing the Metta Bhavana, or the loving kindness meditation, of which I'll give commentary through, which can possibly act a little bit like a conclusion as well. Okay, a reminder. And so please, when you do study the Dharma, whether it's from listening to the Dharma talks or reading books, just do that. Do it well. Then when you contemplate on what it is you've heard or what you're reading, then just do that. Contemplate well. And then when you practice, whether it be on the cushion or off the cushion, practice well. Okay? I rejoice in your meritorious goodness always. Please take very good care. The inner smile. You don't have to have the outside smile sometimes, but always try to maintain an inner smile.